Live on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 125, all social media platforms and around the world on myjoyonline.com. This is Joy News Prime with me, Carlos Caloni. In our headlines, this are government shutdown in 2025 as Finance Minister fails to present a mini budget to cater for state expenditure in the first quarter of next year.
Of this meeting have been adjourned to the 2nd of January 2025.
We have details as a minority and majority leaders trade blame over the standoff.
The NPP government has failed to comply with Article 180 of the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana.
It is rather the lawless NDC minority who have done all they can to obstruct government business.
And tonight, public sector salaries are in limbo, with Parliament expected to resume on 2nd January. Also, Ghana Medical Association warns of a possible spike in cholera cases with Christmas festivities in near as they charge the Ghana Health Service to ramp up efforts to curb the outbreak. And hope for SHS result is fast fading as WAEC insists result cannot be processed after confirming it received partial payment. It's official. There will be a government shutdown at the start of the new year after Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Adam failed to present the expenditure in advance of appropriation. This mini budget would have funded the government and state machinery and paid salaries for the first 3 months of 2025 ahead of the new John Dramani Mahama's administration presenting a substantive budget. But the process has been dogged with broken down negotiations over outstanding government business. The NDC have refused to approve. Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kwakwasanti has more in the following report.
Proceed to adjourn the sittings of this meeting till the 2nd of January 2025. Honorable members, the sittings of this meeting have been adjourned to the 2nd of January 2025. It is so declared.
The worst expected outcome has occurred. There will be a government shutdown from 1st January 2025 because Parliament has been unable to consider and approve the mini budget for the first quarter of next year. The Finance Minister, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, was expected to come to Parliament and present that critical information. It would have been referred to a committee for consideration, and then a report would have been laid back on this floor, and then a vote would have ensued. But for the last 5 days, we've been expecting the minister to show up. He hasn't. The sticking point is that the majority, the NPP side, have been seeking to get some trade-offs from their colleagues in the NDC to at least allow this mini budget to come. That trade-off had not been agreed, and because of that, entrenched positions has led to the Speaker adjourning the House to 2nd January. The NPP side, led by their leader, Alexander Afenyo-Markin, expected their NDC colleagues to come to the table and agree to approve some $350 million worth of tax waivers, to approve $250 million loan and another 140 million euros to buy ships for the Ghana Navy, as well as approve 2 persons nominated by the President to go onto the Supreme Court as judges. The NDC flatly rejected those offers and said they were not going to approve it. Their view was that the government should wait for the incoming John Dramani Mahama government to be seized with those matters and consider same and put them before the House. Following the abrupt adjournment of the House, the two sides have been trading blames. First, the minority leader, Dr. Kasirato Forsen, says the NPP is to blame for this standoff.
The NPP government has failed to comply with Article 180 of the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana to present the expenditure in advance of appropriation. in the spirit of good transition, it is expected that the outgoing president, acting pursuant to Article 180 of the Constitution, would have acted in good faith and bring before this Parliament a proposal for expenditure to cater for the first quarter of the year 2025. This was very important because the Appropriation Act for 2025 will not come into force on 1st of January 2025. There's no cause for alarm, ladies and gentlemen. Even though there will be no finance minister on the 7th of January 2025, the Vice President can present to this House the expenditure in advance of appropriation anytime after swearing in on the 7th of January 2025.
But in a sharp rebuttal, Majority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin says the NDC has been acting lawlessly in Parliament, insisting that they should not expect to always have their way.
We've had Supreme Court nominees whose vetting Parliament has concluded, and we are to table that report for motion to be taken on. They say they won't even allow the all-important free SHS bill. They again say they won't allow that to also be laid, let alone for the committee to take it for the bill to be considered, as well as the $250 million facility from the World Bank to support the financial sector. We've also had the 1D1F, where they themselves brought proposals to us, and government side accepted those proposals, which proposals led to the raw materials components being taken out, resulting in huge savings, and as a result, the committee completed its work. Again, the NDC lawless minority will not allow the report to be taken. We want to tell the people of Ghana that we as Democrats are ever ready to proceed to do this expenditure on account. There is no way we will ambush our own fortunes as a nation. It is rather the lawless NDC minority who have done all they can to obstruct government business. And they do not even care about the effect of our inability to undertake this constitutional obligation.
There will be a government shutdown from the 1st of January. Salaries, goods and services, capex, and other things will not be funded because there will be no authority to draw down from the consolidated fund to use for the services of government between 1st of January and March. Parliament will resume on the 2nd. If there's any agreement, the minister can put this document before the House, it will be approved. If that does not happen, the Speaker has given an indication that the incoming John Dramani Mahama government, when it is finally sworn in, can put this document before the House and it will be approved. It has been earmarked on the other paper for some weeks now, 68.1 billion Ghana cedis. That is how much the government expected to spend between the 1st January and the end of March as the first quarter budget before the substantive budget itself would have been presented by the new finance minister who will be appointed by John Dramani Mahama. That hasn't happened, and MPs are returning to their constituencies without having dealt with some of these crucial and critical businesses. Reporting for Joy News, Kweku Asante, Parliament House, Accra.
Well, let's go on phone to speak to Alex Tete. He is the MP for Sefi Akotumbra and the second Deputy Majority Chief Whip there. How concerning is this issue to your caucus?
To your listeners, and let me say that I'm saddened about the event that is happening in Parliament. Speaker recalled Parliament on Monday, that's 16th, and we're all planning to execute government business up to today, so that Speaker can adjourn the House as he has actually done it. When we came, normally we have a business committee meeting, and we all agree that we'll do one or two government business before we tackle this advance in appropriation. Suddenly, when we reached the chamber, the NDC minority has changed their position that they will not allow any government business to take place except advance in appropriation. And if you can, I don't know if you have seen a letter that a finance minister brought to Parliament. It was dated 23rd October, requesting Parliament to give an approval to these expenditures. When we recalled the Parliament twice, the NDC actually refused us to work, fighting in a position where to sit as some of those speakers have earlier said it. That actually triggered this delay. And today, in concrete, the leader is trying to plead with NDC to accept us to do the judges that have already been vetted, the 1D1F tax exemption, which the NDC initial stage opposed that the amount involved was too much. They asked us to reduce it. They took out some of the request. And now 350 million for 42 companies. The NDC is preventing us to actually lay even these papers in Parliament. I have not seen this before. Because if we lay the papers and we debate, and the vote is put, or voice vote, we lost it, we will accept it. But then this is saying that they will not even allow us to lay papers in Parliament. That's actually brought proceedings, and Speaker actually adjourned the House.
All right. Okay, but some believe this is a deliberate move from your side, just to cause the incoming administration some problems when they are sworn in. How do you respond to that?
This is not deliberate. My brother, if you can recall, we called this House to come and sit in two occasions. Secondly, these tax exemptions are not for only this week. That was brought into the other paper. It's years now that NDC has prevented us to be laid in Parliament. It's not today. So if somebody is saying that we deliberate making this an attempt to disrupt the incoming government, it's not true. It's not this week that the leader of government business, Honorable Alexander Markin, is requesting that we should do this judges' approval, we should do the free senior high school. And to my surprise, you know that from Monday, the free senior high school bill was on the other paper. Sadly, today, it was removed. Leader has to call that they should do addendum paper.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for speaking to us here.
You're welcome.
Joy News Prime. Now, away from Parliament, Director of Legal Affairs of the NDC, Eduji Tamaklo, says the party has filed a stay of execution of the High Court in Accra's ruling that ordered the Ghana Police Service to provide security for the EC to recollate the parliamentary result of 6 constituencies. Eduji Tamaklo earlier expressed disappointment with the High Court in Accra to order for the recollation of the parliamentary result of 6 constituencies. The decision comes after weeks of uncertainty surrounding the outcome of the December 7 polls in the constituencies.
I'm confirmed that we have invoked the supervisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court relative to the orders made by the High Court this morning, and also applied for an order to stay the execution of the orders against the IGP and then the EC. I can also say that we have duly filed and served it on the IGP, who is supposed to provide security for those exercises. That I can confirm.
So that application, this is an application to stay.
That is so.
Okay. Has it been granted, and does it, in effect, stay, or you have to wait for it to be? I do not want to.
The IGP has a team of lawyers. They will advise what to do.
But at least it's your expectation that the IGP and the Electoral Commission will wait for the outcome of that substantive matter that you've taken out?
There are 2 processes before the Supreme Court, the Court of the Land. The IGP and his office have been duly served.
Have you served the Electoral Commission, though?
Well, I'm sure the bailiff also should be, but I can confirm that of the IGP.
And we were asking earlier your colleague on the other side if they've been told by the EC when the recollation would happen. I mean, this could happen any time.
The IGP is the one who is supposed to provide security, and he has been served with judicial processes. I'm sure his lawyers advise him what he to do.
In other words, if the EC can proceed without the security, you don't mind?
The IGP has been served.
But the EC can't do it without the IGP's protection, as in providing men for them.
That is what I'm saying, that the IGP has been served.
Now, the NDC parliamentary candidate for Tema Central and Okaikwe Central, who were both present in court, were not enthused about the decision either and said they would wait on the party on the way forward.
Well, I think that our legal director has explained it in detail, and he's giving you indication of the next line of actions that the party may take here.
How do you feel at this particular point in time?
Well, it was quite interesting. We made some very good arguments relative to the facts, and as was detailed by our Director of Elections. The judgment is a bit interesting. However, we are minded to regroup as a party, and then the next line of actions will be detailed by the party, and then we'll know what to do related to it.
Are you stronger than before, or are you broken?
I've always been stronger. I've always been confident that any process would confirm or affirm the fact that we duly won the Okaikwe Central constituency. We have been very confident from the start, from the get-go, regarding the fact that we won and the fact that we have all the necessary documentation to back it.
Well, I'll say that a lot of things have been said about the things that go on in our society. Sometimes you can't really appreciate them until you're at the center of them or involved in them. So I'd say today was quite an experience. You think that language and the law is a matter of logic. And sometimes you see it misplaced in a very embarrassing way and it's out of your control. But we've heard everything that has gone on today, and I think we'll move forward stronger, and we'll have to decide the next steps to take. What is sure is that from day one, it wasn't ever going to be easy, and I've always fought through it. So I still stand resolute in my quest to represent the people of Tema Central. I'm glad that on this occasion they have partnered me in that quest and have voted for me. And so, as I've promised them always, I will always remain your soldier, I will always remain your leader, and I will stand and fight till we exhaust every possibility to protect your verdict on my behalf. So this is what I'll say for now. Of course, we will wait for the combined efforts of the leadership of our party. The way forward and all of that will be decided very quickly, and we will comply to make sure that we do what is right for Tema Central, for all the other constituencies, and for Ghana.
But do you feel disappointed by the court's order?
I will say that I feel a little bit of shame because, people say things, but you always think that it's their subjective view. But when you sit down and you experience it yourself, you realize that in many ways we're endangered as Ghanaians, as citizens, and if we cannot, trust in the justice system to deliver justice. And this is how I feel right now. So I'm very disappointed. I'm a bit ashamed. But I realize that it puts a bigger responsibility on us to look out for people that don't have power.
Now, President-elect John Dramani Mahama has urged the Electoral Commission (EC) to uphold principles of fairness and consistency in resolving the 9 outstanding parliamentary election results. During a meeting with members of the diplomatic corps, he stressed that the EC should adhere to its precedent set during the 2020 elections. Referencing the Techiman South constituency case, he recalled that despite claims that the declaration was made under duress, the EC insisted that any dispute should be settled through the court and not by revisiting the declaration.
Sometimes bureaucracy has a way of slowing things down, and I know some of you get frustrated and all that. I can assure you that I'm going to have a very open door so that we can help you remove any obstacles that are in the way of the good relations and economic cooperation that exists between our countries. There are a few outstanding issues arising from the election. As you are aware, 9 constituencies are in dispute, and we think that the Electoral Commission should act in a principled manner. You cannot change the rules when it suits you and apply different rules when different circumstances exist. There was a particular case in 2020, and the Electoral Commission came out clearly that if a declaration had been made, it was not the duty of the Electoral Commission to adjudicate it. The courts were the right place to go. And so if a declaration has been made, it doesn't matter under what circumstance. They're saying that somewhere under duress. In the case of Techimansa, it was under duress. There were soldiers in the collation room. There was chaos in the collation room when the declaration was made. And the same arguments were passed that, there should be a recollation. And the Electoral Commission said, no, there can't be any recollation once a declaration has been made. In the same circumstances, declarations have been made. If people have a grievance, they must go to the courts and redress those grievances there. We don't think that the goalpost should be shifted depending on who is at the other end of the stick. There's one particular case in which there was no declaration. We can understand that. And so the Electoral Commission has to make a determination what happens. Is there going to be a rerun? How are they going to be able to collate those results? And so we think that there must be fairness and justice in everything that we do. And so that's a concern we have, that those issues will be resolved as quickly as possible so that we know what the final outcome of the election is.
Now, flag bearer of the Movement for Change, Alan Tremanton, raised concerns about the entrenched winner-takes-all political culture in Ghana. During his visit to President-elect John Dramani Mahama, he urged him to consider a more inclusive approach by appointing qualified individuals from across the political divide to his government.
I'm sure you're all aware that our country has been seriously divided for many years because of partisanship. And unfortunately, this is robbing all of us of the benefits of our democratic credentials, which we've nurtured over so many years. And I think this ought to change. Secondly, this whole winner-takes-all syndrome, which has been associated with partisanship, I think is also not helping our country. Because we don't have the benefit of harvesting and mobilizing the collective talent of all Ghanaians. And we should not be divided in that regard by our different political ideologies. I think that also needs to change. Thirdly, also, the lack of continuity of government projects, which again is the result of this partisanship, has also cost our nation quite a bit of money. And I think that also has to change. So I would really like, very respectfully, you to consider this whole development paradigm of how you build a government of national unity, which obviously then means that you bring together people from different political persuasions, big and small, people from other stakeholder groupings, because I think they also represent, indeed, in fact, they represent the majority of the people. So they must have a voice also in government.
Now, President-elect John Dramani Mahama, in response, acknowledged the importance of strong opposition and expressed hope for the new patriotic party, the NPP, to regroup quickly after the big electoral defeat.
I believe that it is based on multi-party democracy. And so the strength and health of political parties is at the core of our democracy. And so one would, even though we're opponents, wish that, the parties that are on the other side of the divide are healthy and that, they also have their democratic systems working and that they contribute their quota on whichever side of the divide, government or opposition, they contribute their quota to national development. So we can't be happy with the current situation in the NPP, and I hope that they'll quickly recover from this dramatic loss that they have suffered and they put their act together. We could see it coming, and I've been in politics long enough to realize that there was something wrong in the NPP. I remember clearly, and some people have played it over and over again, our friend Mustafa Hamid, who was advising me at the time that if you reach a stage where you cannot be advised, then there's something wrong, wallahi. I think that unfortunately he didn't have that same advice for the leadership of his party, because I mean it got to a point where democracy in the NPP really, you know, was not what we've been used to and what we all know.
Well, still on the election, the National Election Security Task Force has reversed its initial decision and pledged to provide security for the Electoral Commission to continue collating the 9 outstanding constituency results. The EC on Wednesday disclosed that the police service had earlier informed the Commission of its inability to guarantee the safety of EC officials for the collation process. However, during a press briefing at the police headquarters, ACP Grace Ansah Akrofi affirmed the NESHFC's readiness to ensure the necessary security for the resumption of collation. There's more in the following report.
The Electoral Commission on December 18th, Wednesday, wanted to continue collation of the 9 outstanding constituencies, according to Dr. Sribo Kweku. But the police wrote back to the Electoral Commission saying they can't assure them security. Addressing a press conference on behalf of the National Security Task Force, ACP Grace Akrofi has revealed that the police service is ready to provide security for collation to continue.
The National Election Security Task Force and the Electoral Commission on 19th December 2024 held a meeting at the National Police Headquarters, Accra, to discuss issues pertaining to the outstanding collations in some constituencies. At this meeting, the Electoral Commission informed the task force of their preparedness to proceed with the outstanding collations and requested the task force to provide the needed security. The task force assured the Electoral Commission of its readiness to provide the needed security for the outstanding collations.
Security task force will also include the deployment of the military.
In this regard, there will be a joint police and military deployment for the exercise. We wish to caution the public that non-accredited persons will not be permitted at the centers.
ACP Ansah Akrofi, addressing the press conference, also urged various political parties to refrain from asking their supporters from coming to the coalition centers.
The task force would like to urge the political parties to refrain from inciting their supporters to mass up at the coalition centers to disrupt the process.
The Electoral Commission is expected to continue coalition of the 9 outstanding constituencies, including Ablekuma North, Dom Kwabenya, Okaikoi Central, and other 6 constituencies. Reporting for Joy News, Collins from Pong.
You're still watching the Joy News Prime with me, Carlos Caloni. We'll take a short break. We'll return with more. Please stay. Welcome back. Now, the Civil and Local Government Staff Association, Ghana, CLOSAG, is serving notice it will resist any appointment of persons to state institutions based on political party affiliations. President-elect John Dramani Mahama, when sworn in as president in January, is expected to make appointments to various state institutions. However, CLOSAG Executive Secretary Isaac Bampuado, speaking at this year's CLOSAG Thanksgiving service, said they will strongly resist any appointment based on political party loyalty. He also questioned the winner-takes-all provision in the Constitution, calling for an amendment to allow other competent hands to contribute to running the state.
We wish to remind government, our employer, on the application of the neutrality principle in the civil service and the local government service. While workers need to go by the ruling of the Supreme Court in June 2017 in service delivery, appointments and promotions in these services should not be by partisan politics. Another area of concern is the winner-take-all principle that is enshrined in the 1992 Constitution that allows the president unfettered powers in the appointment of all public officers. Also, the Presidential Office Act 1993, Act 463, gives the president the authority to appoint officers into the public service without recourse to their qualifications, skills, and experience. Indeed, it is time for us to evaluate the democracy that has characterized the governance under the Fourth Republic to ascertain whether this type of governance is helping us to develop as a country. In assessing the benefits or otherwise of our current democratic dispensation, account should be taken of the following: mainly, voluntary spirit, which is waning, patriotism or selflessness as against egocentrism, national cohesion vis-a-vis ethnocentric governance, corruption in all forms, and indiscipline, which has destroyed the fabric of our society. Is it the time to consider introducing social partnership in the structure of governance in Ghana? Is union government not a better alternative? Let us all begin to ponder over this. Small-scale mining is increasingly acknowledged as a job creation and poverty alleviation mechanism. The purification of small-scale mining has, however, been accompanied by an undermining of the legal and regulatory framework for small-scale mining in Ghana. State institutions administered through a decentralized local governance structure are responsible for formalizing and regulating mining activities and ensuring that illegality is exposed and curtailed. Thus, the political will to fight and eradicate galamsey must be seen from DCs and MCs who can galvanize support from traditional rulers, community members, and regulatory agencies to ensure compliance with pollution avoidance mechanism, prevent mining in environmentally sensitive areas, and implement frameworks for allocating concessions that are mined in a sustainable manner and reclaimed to restore their ecological integrity. Addressing the challenge of galamsey undoubtedly requires concerted and targeted action from a wide range of stakeholders. We can start by ensuring that the people who are responsible for safeguarding our environment and health at the highest levels of local governance actually do so.
Well, let's shift our attention to education, because just when SHS graduates were hoping to receive their result and proceed with their education, the West African Examinations Council, WAEC, has announced that the release of results is still uncertain. According to WAEC, the amount paid by the Ministry of Education only covers previous debt and is insufficient to process the current result. The government currently owes the Examination Council approximately 118 million cedis. To gain a deeper understanding of the situation, let's hear from the West African Examination Council's Public Relations Officer, John Karpi. Grateful for your time for joining us here on phone. Can you confirm how much indeed the government has paid so far towards the debt?
Listeners, and thanks for having me. We received a check for 25 million cedis yesterday. So we can confirm that, yes, the 25 million cedis was released to us.
And we understand the ministry owes you about 118 million. Is that correct?
Yes, it's correct. They owe us 118.925 million Ghana cedis.
All right. So now that they've been able to pay this 25 million, we believe you should be ready to process the result of the SHS students.
Well, unfortunately, that may not be the case because we stated earlier in our communication with the Minister of Education that the technicians who were supposed to come and work on the scanners were owed an amount of 25 million Ghana cedis, and they were demanding full payment of that amount before they would even attempt to do any work for us. They also demanded a guarantee that when the job was done, we would pay them promptly. So with this 25 million cedis that we have, all we are going to be able to do is to pay up the debt that we owe them and maybe get them to come and assess what the problems are and then give us a bill for the next job to be done.
So what happens to the result processing then?
Well, unfortunately, it is sad to say, but then we may not be able to move any step further if we are not able to have them fix the scanner so that we scan the rest of the objective answer cards.
So we know that this result has delayed from the norm. By now, you should have processed it. How late are you in doing this?
Well, we expected that by yesterday, the 19th of December, we would have released the results and that the tertiary institutions will also be able to go ahead with their admissions. Unfortunately, we are way, way, way behind because there are still a number of processes we have to go through. For example, there are still some examiners who are finishing up with their scrutiny. We will need those scrutiny reports to be able to determine, which results we are releasing. And then also we would need to pay to get a wider bandwidth in order that we can upload all the results online. So if you look at all of these operations, we still have quite some job to do.
So, assuming government pays you tomorrow, how long would it take you to get the result released?
Well, once the government pays, our system is such that it's robust. Even though we are supposed to be on break, if there's any job that needs everybody, all hands on deck, we'll invite everybody back from the Christmas break. And I believe, like my head of office said at the last meeting, we'll bend backwards and ensure that we get the thing done within the shortest possible time.
All right. Thank you so much, John Kapi, for speaking to us here on Joy News Prime. Now, from education, let's shift our attention to health, where the Ghana Medical Association, GMA, has raised alarm over worsening cholera outbreak that has infected 265 people and claimed 32 lives since October, warning the situation could escalate further during the festive season if urgent actions are not taken. With cases surging, particularly in the western region, the GMA is calling on the government and local authorities to ramp up sanitation enforcement, provide portable water, and ensure the availability of medical supplies to affected areas. Well, let's look at a statement from the GMA, which is there on your screens, and it reads, the Ghana Medical Association, the GMA, has noted with concern the escalation of the cholera outbreak in part of the country. Now, from the initial outbreak reported in August 2024, which was declared over in September, and the onset of the current outbreak in October 2024, 265 cases have been confirmed, with 32 deaths reported. Sharp increases in confirmed cases have recently been reported in several districts, especially in the western region, where the outbreak is threatening to overwhelm health facilities and communities. The association warns that the current situation may worsen as we enter the festive period if immediate measures are not implemented to stop the spread. It goes on to say the GMA therefore calls on the government as a matter of urgency to ramp up efforts to combat a surge in cholera cases. The association urges that portable drinking water, medications and logistics to manage cases be provided in affected areas. Now, in addition, Metropolitan, Municipal and District Assembly should enforce bylaws on sanitation, especially food hygiene at eateries, waste disposal and ensure adequate safe drinking water. The GMA also calls on the media, NCCE and all stakeholders to collaborate to educate the public about cholera prevention. The GMA also advises the public to practice good personal hygiene, especially hand washing with soap and running water and eating healthy meals, preferably hot, especially as we enter the festive period. The public is in hotspots are also encouraged to get vaccinated. And you see signed there by Dr. Frank Srebro, who is actually the president of the GMA, as well as Selom Kuchuati, Assistant General Secretary of the GMA. Now, away from health, when storytelling meets history, it's a feast for thought. Multimedia Group Limited has inked a deal with AI Media to bring you Omo Ghana, Man for Chop, a documentary that dives into the repatriation of Ghanaians from Nigeria in 1983 and the hunger that gripped the nation that year. The managing director of AI Media, Kwame Boedi, revealed that the documentary is more than just a trip down memory lane. It's a wake-up call for the youth about the realities of seeking greener pastures abroad. My colleague Jacqueline Ansoma Yeboah has more in the following report.
Back in 1983, over 1 million Ghanaians were expelled from Nigeria, returning to a country battling severe food shortages.
People were really suffering. It was even difficult to get food to eat, and this was due to the bushfires.
The struggles, resilience, and lessons from that time form the heart of Omo Ghana, Man Must Chop documentary. But it's not just about the past. The managing director of AI Media, Kwame Boedi, says the project is a wake-up call for today's youth chasing dreams abroad to reflect on the realities that may await them.
We use a lot of Yoruba and all sorts of things. You know, there are lots of Nigerians here, so we have a lot of Nigerian things. They really caught their eye. So now to release it, we had wanted to release earlier in the year, and then things will happen, then elections and all that. But we have been talking to Fifi and Co and said, look, multimedia, you guys do these things best. And the kind of movie we have, we think it sort of fits with your social, corporate kind of thing. So you would be a good entity to partner us to do this. So and they were agreeable to it. So Multimedia is now actually a co-producer. We're going to give you a title of a co-producer. So then you help us with the promotion, some marketing, and you actually have it will be released online first. First, you got the first right to show on your screens. Now we'll take it to universities across the country. It's about 15 universities that we've targeted. Because we think this story, although the university setting, other people can come and watch, is the youth we want to talk to. Maybe grass is not greener elsewhere. Maybe yours need watering. So water your grass first and see. Maybe it will become very, very green and you stay. If you water and it's so patchy, that means that then you can go out. Why are we saying that? Look, first, let's explore those of us who've traveled and done things and are honest. The people who are coming to this criticize and they're coming to tell you things, they will tell you that ideally if they had their way, they'll be here. So there are some people who it's best that you are here. Not only for yourself, but for nation, for everything, for your dignity, etc. There's always the trade-off. The people who live there, if they tell you what they have to do, not only the menial jobs, but there are certain indignities and certain things, and you are a second-class citizen.
Well, in showbiz, the Land Division of the High Court in Accra has granted an interim injunction in favor of Labadi Beach Hotel, restraining Spartan Ives Limited, operators of Polo Beach Club, from encroaching on its property. Now, the injunction issued on December 19, 2024 follows legal action initiated by Hotel Investments Ghana Limited, the hotel's owners, to reclaim disputed land. The court directive explicitly prohibits Spartan Ives Limited and its affiliation from 1. Trespassing on 054 acres of the hotel's property, including its use as a car park, pathway, or venue for events. 2. Operating the Polo Beach Club or hosting events on the hotel's land or adjoining restricted areas. And 3. Using the beachfront adjacent the hotel's property in violation of the lease agreement dated November 27, 1990. The injunction, effective for 10 days, warns of contempt proceedings against the defendants should they fail to comply. Well, meanwhile, Stonebwoy has described the 2024 election as peaceful. He also commended NPP flag bearer Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia for conceding defeat, which, according to him, eased tension in the country.
Elections were smooth because, considering the, the levels of mishaps that could have been, comparing it to the rest of the African nations or African states, you can understand that Ghana is a established when it comes to democracy, peace and security. And Ghana is being looked up to by the rest of the world and Africa to propel that democratic nature. So we did well. Especially I want to commend the MPP Vice President flag bearer for his very prompt, response in it. There was that actually eased every tension because there were proper propagations or predictions, and it didn't go the wrong way. It was actually very smooth. He conceded. He came with a message that shows Ghana as a peaceful country to the international world, and that is what we need, because it is actually equity for us to be able to boast that my country is peaceful, my country understands human life, safety of human life, and we don't push war and etc. So it was beautiful, nice. That's why we're here and happy, because if not, it would have been something else, because you know how tense it gets, when it's election times and stuff.
Well, that's all we have time for. But before we go tomorrow, what to expect on News File? Probing the oral, recollation and transition blues. That's the topic. As usual, Samson Lade and Yanene will be there. It starts from 8 a.m. to 12 noon. And you can see the key panelists that will be there. Mary Awalema Ada, Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa will be there. Oliver Baka Vomawo, among others. So we're hoping that you join us tomorrow to be part of the News File. That's all we have. You can log on to myjoyonline.com for more story. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening.